I'm CBS 8's Jenny Day. Welcome to Around San Diego. I'll get you caught up on a week's worth of news and look ahead in just 30 minutes. We do begin in Del Mar, where a Union School District Board member was arrested for allegedly soliciting a prostitute in Florida. Scott Wooden is out of jail after posting bail. He was one of more than 200 people taken into custody as part of a major human trafficking operation called Operation Traffic Stop. CBS 8 Shannon Handy has details on his arrest and how the district is responding.
Scott Wooden has served as a trustee with the board here since 2010. In a statement, a district spokesperson said the allegations against him are shocking and extremely concerning.
He's on the governing board of the Del Mar Union Public School District. Now, don't you want this guy making decisions for your children?
During a press conference Thursday, Polk County, Florida Sheriff Grady Judd did not hold back when talking about Scott Wooden, one of 213 people arrested there as part of a week-long drug and sex trafficking operation called Operation Traffic Stop.
This guy comes from the San Diego area of California. He was supposedly here helping his mom and dad, and hey, he had a few minutes, so he decided he would come here and engage in sex.
Wooden was among 89 so-called Johns arrested during the sting. According to this affidavit, he was taken into custody February 11th. He's accused of contacting an undercover detective who posted an ad online posing as an escort. The two made arrangements to meet when he arrived. Sheriffs say he offered $200 in cash for sex. The 60-year-old, who is married with 2 children, was arrested without incident. In the documents, he reportedly say he, quote, got caught doing something stupid. Wooden faces 1 misdemeanor charge of soliciting a prostitute. He was released Monday after posting a $500 bail. Meanwhile, news of his arrest has spread amongst parents in the district.
My neighbors and many parents were outraged.
Speaking to us earlier today, Augie Rose, a mom of 3, said Wooden should be placed on administrative leave immediately.
Just concerning because we don't know who to trust anymore as a parent.
I tried contacting Wooden but have not heard back. Hours before his resignation, the district did release a statement saying while we do not yet know all the details and circumstances of this incident, the allegations are shocking and extremely concerning. The district is continuing to learn more about this incident as information becomes available, and the board is exploring options for any related action with its attorneys. On behalf of the entire board, you have our commitment that our superintendent and all staff will continue to focus on our important work each day in support of the students of the Del Mar Union School District.
Wooden's arraignment is scheduled in Florida on February 24th. If you'd like to take a look at the entire affidavit against him, just log on to CBS8.com and click on this story. For CBS 8, I'm Shannon Handy.
Shannon, thanks. And CBS 8 has obtained transcripts of sidebar hearings in the murder case against Larry Miliete. The public was not allowed to hear these private conversations, which took place behind the scenes during a 10-day preliminary hearing. As CBS 8's David Godfredson reports, during the sidebar conferences, the judge and the attorney spoke openly about the most controversial evidence in this case.
Is there any reason why you did not take photographs of the attic?
From day one of the preliminary hearing for Larry Miliete, prosecutor Christy Bowles had objected to cross-examination questioning by defense attorney Bonita Martinez.
So I would object then.
Some objections made publicly in open court, others in private during secret sidebar conversations. 9 of those sidebar hearings were on the record, and CBS 8 recently obtained transcripts.
Did you see any evidence of any blood splatter inside the house?
Yes, I did.
The first sidebar dealt with blood found in Maya Miliete's master bathroom. Your Honor, I didn't want to do this as a speaking objection, Prosecutor Bowles said during the sidebar conference. There was a blood collection in the bathroom. The blood was tested. Although it is female blood, it's not Miss Miliete's blood.
How many times did you travel to Lake Havasu?
The next secret sidebar concerned Maya allegedly drinking during a family trip to Parker Dam. Defense attorney Martinez, my client's wife left the children in the trailer and they went to a floating bar, and were there until early morning hours drinking. Judge Dwayne Mooring. Counsel, if you want to impeach the character of her being this loving mother by evidence that she was out drinking and left the kids unattended, fine. I would prefer that you get to it in 5 questions instead of 20 questions. Prosecutor Bowles, whether or not May went out drinking with her sister is irrelevant, and I think this is part of Larry's fixation. Keep in mind there was no jury during this preliminary hearing, so the judge apparently held these secret sidebars in an effort to keep highly prejudicial evidence and personal details out of the public realm.
May was so in fear for her safety that she locked herself in a bathroom, but Mr. Millett punched through the drywall that was next to the bathroom door.
Following testimony about Larry Miliete punching holes in walls, another sidebar. Martinez, she planted and stated all those negative stories about Mr. Miliete's physical violence or abusiveness to her friends and her relatives, when in fact, they never saw any physical violence. Judge Mooring, how are you going to prove what you've just stated? Just because you disagree with the statement doesn't mean it shouldn't come into evidence. In another sidebar conference, the judge admonished the defense attorney for not doing her homework. Counsel, if you're going to be representing him and doing a competent job, then you just need to make sure that you have a mastery of the evidence and you've got to anticipate what is going to come in. You've had this case for quite a while. You should be on top of it. Martinez responded she continues to receive large amounts of discovery from the DA's office, and it's, quote, an extreme hardship on the defense. David Gottfredson, CBS 8.
Yeah, and other sidebar conversations dealt with more personal issues like an extramarital affair and an alleged abortion. We have posted those transcript excerpts on CBS8.com. Larry Miliete's next court appearance will be March 22nd, with a trial date set for September. And the trial in the former local TV anchor Sandra Moss's lawsuit against KUSI is now underway. Lawyers gave their opening statements this week in a downtown courtroom. Moss says KUSI fired her in 2019 after she blew the whistle on the unequal pay between her and her male co-anchor, Alan Denton. Her attorneys argue Moss was more qualified than Denton because she had a bachelor's degree and had been on air longer. But KUSI says that she had a bad attitude and poor work ethic, so she wasn't worth as much. Excuse me. Moss's attorneys say that she deserves millions in damages. Well, right now, beaches from the international border up through Silver Strand are closed and could remain closed for some time due to a massive sewage spill. This all began last week when a construction crew ruptured a 60-inch sewage pipe just south of Tijuana. As a result, 2 pump stations in Mexico were forced to shut down, sending millions of gallons of raw sewage across the border and into the Tijuana River Valley. Mexico says it could be another week before the pipe is repaired. And tackling sewage, addressing housing, and keeping communities safe are among the top priorities for the new mayor of Imperial Beach. Paloma Aguirre says that some of these issues have plagued the small coastal town for decades and wants to move the city in a new direction. She took a walk with CBS 8's Rocio de la Fe and shared the plan already in the works to address some of those problems.
Paloma Aguirre is no stranger to the public eye. Her work began back in 2018 when she was first elected to the city council. She now plans to spend the next 4 years as mayor cleaning up South Bay beaches.
2 months to the date since taking her new seat as mayor, Paloma Aguirre has a long road ahead.
You know, I just want to take it in an even more positive direction.
The city's new leader has made stopping the flow of sewage from Tijuana one of her top priorities.
Because ultimately, it costs us tremendously. It costs us in our public health, right? The health of our community, the environmental health, and our economy too.
But help is on the way. $300 million in federal funds have been now allocated to help solve this issue.
We need to make sure that that funding is spent well, that the timelines and the work plans are on schedule, And most importantly, that we're working with our partners across the border.
The federal money will go to expanding the existing South Bay International Wastewater Treatment Plant. It will reroute wastewater, fix sewage pipes, and make other necessary maintenance repairs. But many who live in Imperial Beach say that will do little to fix the issue in the long term.
I've seen the plan that they have, and I don't believe it's really going to fix the issue.
People don't want to move here when they say, hey, the last 3 times I've been there, there's been contaminated waters, no swimming. So it affects 100% of everything. So we want this to get fixed once and for all.
Aguirre acknowledges it won't eliminate the problem altogether.
It's not the end-all solution. There's no silver bullet solution. That's the challenge, right? And there's going to be additional funding needed that I and many of us are going to continue to advocate for from the federal government.
Working with her Mexican counterparts will play a critical role in addressing these issues, but she believes her Mexican background will help facilitate talks.
But at the end of the day, we share our coastline, as you can see here. If you see down the coast, that's all Mexico. All those tall buildings are Mexico. That's how intertwined and interconnected we are. We have to figure out a way to work together.
Aguirre was born in the U.S. to immigrant parents. Her family later moved back to their hometown of Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, where she spent most of her early years. A bodyboarding competition brought her to Imperial Beach. She tells me it's what made her stay.
I knew this was like a place I never wanted to leave. You know, that appeal that I fell in love with I think is something that a lot of people can agree with, you know.
Fueled by her desire to conserve coastal ecosystems, she went on to get her master's in marine biodiversity and conservation from UC San Diego Scripps Institute of Oceanography, making her the first person in her family to graduate from college. And now she's the first Latina woman to serve as mayor.
You know, I'm very grateful to have been the first Latino in general to serve on council, but to be the first Latina mayor, to me, it's very special, and I know it's special to a lot of people.
As mayor, she plans on maintaining Imperial Beach a safe coastal community.
How do we do that? We continue to work with our deputies. We continue to work with our park rangers.
Part of the plan includes big changes already in the works on Palm Avenue, which connects South San Diego and Coronado, adding more lights, tree coverage, bike paths, and pedestrian-friendly walkways. The mixed-use development plan is also set to bring in more residential units, which Aguirre says are desperately needed. She tells me she will work to address housing, homelessness, and the flow of sewage into South Bay beaches during the next 4 years, and possibly even longer.
Would you consider running again?
I'm going to serve IB until IB doesn't want me anymore, so yes, absolutely.
Garcia de la Fe, CBS 8.
Rocio, thanks. Well, potholes have popped up around San Diego as storms have rolled through in recent weeks. We've heard from many of you with concerns and even car damage. The city says it's making progress in repairing them and has reduced its backlog of reported potholes by 80%. We are told crews have repaired more than 14,000 since just the first of the year. As of now, there are about 350 open reports on the Get It Done app.
I hope that the city does more to anticipate these types of things and takes like a proactive approach to it. But it can't be this one-off patching type of thing. I think we really need a systemic change, a plan, if you will.
Yeah, the city encourages you to report potholes in the Get It Done app. If your car has been damaged by one, you can file a claim and the city might reimburse the cost of repairs to your car. You can find more information on CBS8.com. Well, Encinitas has approved broadening their smoking ban. The ordinance limits smoking in most public places and even parked vehicles. The San Diego Sheriff's Department will be in charge of enforcing the new policy by patrolling the area. Those against expanding the city's smoking ban called it unconstitutional, while those in support say it will improve public health.
This ordinance will further protect people from dangerous secondhand smoke exposure. It will make sidewalks, streets, parking lots, and other public areas look much cleaner and more inviting.
We should inspire people, not restrict them with more laws that are likely unconstitutional.
Yeah, the policy will go into effect 90 days after the next city council meeting. Violators could face fines up to $150. Well, the opioid overdose antidote Narcan could soon be available over the counter. An FDA panel recommended making the nasal spray available without a prescription. Research shows that wider availability of Narcan could save lives as opioid overdose deaths reach record numbers. The hope is to have the drug available in convenience stores, grocery stores, even school vending machines as early as this summer. A final decision from the FDA is expected by the end of next month. Well, more than a century ago, and as recently as 10 years ago, thousands of Californians were forcibly or involuntarily sterilized in state-run facilities, including hospitals and prisons. Now, state leaders are trying to make amends as victims who are still alive could now be eligible for thousands of dollars in reparations. CBS 8's Richard Allen shares one survivor's painful story and the challenges in trying to achieve justice for all of these victims.
I felt robbed, I felt hurt, I felt violated, I felt cheated, and I was angry.
Moonlight Pulido is one of thousands of women sterilized against their will in the state of California. While in prison in 2005, serving a sentence for attempted murder, a doctor told her she needed 2 growths removed, which could be cancerous.
I never questioned the doctor as to him having some type of agenda or anything because he worked for the state. And I was like, okay, everybody works for the state. Who is supposed to be upstanding?
Pulido admits she signed a consent form without reading it. When she awoke from the surgery, she was covered in sweat and asked the nurse what had happened.
She turns around and looks behind her at the paperwork and she goes, oh, you had a full hysterectomy. And I go, excuse me? No.
Confused and angry, Pulido says she later confronted the doctor.
And he said, look, you go home, you guys do the wild thing, you get pregnant, you end up coming back to the prison, and us taxpayers are forced to take care of your unwanted children. He left me speechless, just completely speechless. What right did he have to play God? That wasn't his right to take that from me.
Especially painful, Pulido says, because of her cultural identity.
I'm Native American, and Creator gave us women the only gift to give life. Nobody else can do that. That's a gift. And he took that gift from me.
Pulido, who was released from prison last year, is now one of dozens of women who've received an initial payment of $15,000 from the state of California as a form of reparations.
We are finally doing something positive for the survivors, at least here at home in California.
Assemblymember Wendy Carrillo, who's been fighting for this reparations program for years, says that this statewide practice of forced sterilization stretches back as far as 1909.
This happened in California. It was replicated across many states across the country, and it was even replicated by Adolf Hitler during the World War II to really commit genocide.
This $4.5 million reparations program covers 2 groups of primarily women, thousands of whom were forcibly sterilized in state hospitals as part of California's eugenics program from 1909 to 1979, carried out to prevent patients with mental illness or physical disabilities from having children, as well as a smaller group, including Moonlight Pulido, who were unknowingly sterilized in state prisons. In 2014, state lawmakers banned sterilizations in prison for birth control purposes while still permitting other medically necessary procedures.
Our outreach is continuing.
Vincent Walker is a deputy executive officer for the California Victim Compensation Board, which is overseeing this reparations program. While many of the victims from the original eugenics program have already died, the state is launching an ad campaign
in California performed thousands of sterilization procedures
to try to track down the roughly 600 victims who are believed to still be alive, many of whom could be in nursing homes.
It's real specific demographic that we're trying to reach. So there has been some challenges with really reaching them.
Another challenge has been being able to verify the claims, which requires documentation. So far, about 50 applicants have been approved for these funds.
Because at the end of the day, we're recognizing something horrible and unjust that happened to them. and we want to make sure that they are seen and recognized.
Any remaining funds from this $4.5 million reparations program will be divided equally among those deemed eligible.
It kind of makes me feel like I'm less than a woman now.
For Moonlight Polito, while she appreciates this money as she's beginning to rebuild her life after prison, no amount can compensate her loss.
You can't put a price on a blessing. You cannot put a price on something that was taken from you that, I don't care how hard you work for it, you can never get it back.
And the application deadline for this reparations program is December 31st. For more information, just go to cbs8.com and click on the help button.
Richard, thank you so much for that special report. Well, now we turn to housing. More and more people making six figures a year are choosing to rent instead of own, including here in San Diego. According to a new study, San Diego is a hotspot for high-income renters, spiking over the last 5 years. CBS 8's Shannon Handy has more on the numbers, including some of the surprising reasons behind them.
A high-income renter is considered a household making more than $150,000 annually. And according to apartment search engine Rent Cafe, in San Diego alone over the course of just 5 years, we saw an 88% increase in those high-income renters.
The lifestyle is a big incentive for renters.
Doug Ressler is with Yardi Matrix, the company behind a new study published by apartment search website Rent Cafe, which shows San Diego is a high-income renter hotspot, ranking number 7 nationwide behind cities like San Francisco, Seattle, and New York.
Everybody knows there's a shortage of housing, especially in California. So what do you do if their housing supply or the housing stock isn't available? You rent.
Using data collected from the 2020 census, the study found 12.4% of renters here are high-income earners making at least $150,000 per year. And the number of high-income renters in San Diego has increased dramatically, going from 18,000 in 2015 to 33,400 in 2020. While the pricey and competitive housing market does play a role, Ressler says it wasn't the biggest contributing factor. So what was?
Safety and convenience.
Ressler says rentals, specifically luxury condos and apartments, offer certain amenities home ownership doesn't, plus less maintenance. Another factor, he says San Diego has more high-income earners moving here due to a growing number of available good-paying jobs in the life science field.
San Diego, in terms of life science, moved from number 5 position nationally to number 3. It's about the sciences in terms of either you're developing pills, antibiotics, you're doing things with immune technology.
Overall, Ressler says the high-income earners who rent are choosing to do so even though they can't afford to buy. But some argue home ownership isn't attainable even with a six-figure salary, especially as housing prices in San Diego have skyrocketed. According to the National Association of Realtors, the average home price in San Diego right now is $857,000. When I posted this study to Twitter, Shea Benton responded, "That's because it's impossible to buy here, even if you're making $150K a year, unless you've been making that since college, highly unlikely, and consistently saving. 34, been making good money since 25, still can't afford to buy." Ken Stone simply said, like they have a choice.
If you'd like to take a look at the entire study, just log on to cbs8.com and click on this story. For CBS 8, I'm Shannon Handy.
Yeah, and soaring home prices have some San Diegans turning to county auctions to find bargain properties. Every year, the county auctions off properties that are in default on their tax bill. Right now, there are 421 properties up for auction. That includes more than 50 residential and commercial properties, 300 timeshares, and 70 undeveloped properties. Bidding starts March 10th and runs through March 15th. For more information, head to cbs8.com. And the San Diego City Council narrowly passed a plan to expand sustainable development areas to bring more affordable housing to San Diego. In a 5-4 vote, the council approved a change to the city's land development code. That change will allow developers to pack more housing units into a single location, as long as they're within a mile from a trolley or bus stop. The vote also provides incentives and cuts some of the red tape for people wanting to build granny flats in their backyard. Well, the Mission Bay RV Resort is celebrating a long-awaited cleanup of decaying mobile homes near De Anza Cove. Cleanup efforts started Wednesday with the removal of one last remaining home. It's been more than 5 years since former residents in that area left their trailers behind after the city's lease for permanent housing expired and forced them out. Construction crews will also work to improve the bike and pedestrian paths there along the resort. Well, now to a small win for the Friends of Friendship Park. Construction on a new border wall began on Monday, just as Border Patrol announced that there will still be an area for families on both sides to connect. The future of Friendship Park has really generated a lot of public interest in both the U.S. and Mexico, from protests and meetings with Border Patrol to even letters to the president. For decades, people on both sides of the border have gathered at the park, located just 6 miles west of the San Ysidro port of entry. It's a place where people can meet despite an international border between them. Plans for a new border wall called for eliminating the gates at Friendship Park. The current 18-foot tall walls will be replaced with 30-foot walls. However, we learned just this week that one stretch of the new wall will be shorter and will provide access through a fence for families on both sides of the border to talk and even touch. The Border Patrol also vowed to restore the binational garden once construction is complete.
We're friends, not enemies with the people of Mexico. Our families, our culture, our music, our food is binational. We talk about this so much in this region. Ours is a binational region, and Friendship Park is a platform for celebrating this binational region.
The Friends of Friendship Park have a sense of humor, you see here, and ahead of Valentine's Day, sent Border Patrol agents in Chula Vista a 6-foot tall heart and countless cards as they continue to advocate for the park. It has been closed to visitors since 2020, but is now set to reopen when construction is complete. No word yet on that date, though, but we are told that 25 people will be let in at a time, and the hours will be from 10 to 2 on Saturdays and Sunday. Well, nearly 600 immigrants from all over the world are officially U.S. citizens. They gathered at the Rady Shell downtown on Wednesday for a naturalization ceremony. Some have been waiting years for this moment. Others told us that they left their families back home to start a new life here in the U.S.
Very thankful to this country that gave me the opportunity to pursue a career that otherwise I would not be able to in Italy.
I've been waiting for 5 years for today, and I'm very excited. I'm proud to be an American citizen.
Yeah, the new citizens sworn in represent more than 74 countries, including Afghanistan, Argentina, Italy, Mexico, Ukraine, and Taiwan. Well, California Democratic Senator Dianne Feinstein is not seeking re-election in 2024. It signals the end of her groundbreaking political career spanning 6 decades. Feinstein is 89 years old now and was first elected to the Senate in 1992. She will remain in office through the end of next year when her term ends. Well, Hollywood icon and former San Diego weatherwoman Raquel Welch died just this week. Welch went to La Jolla High School and appeared on CBS 8's Sun Up in 1960. She worked right here at KFMB before she shot to fame, becoming an international star for her roles in movies like 1 Million Years BC. We are told that Welch passed away after a brief illness. She was 82 years old. We do have a look back now at when she returned to our station in 2010 and did the weather again with our Larry Himmel.
She was once the fairest of the fair. She became the fairest of them all. Our former weatherwoman, please step right on in here, Raquel Welch. Over a half century since she first did morning weather on KFMB, Raquel Welch joined me this morning on set at 11.
I mean, they used to have just a glass map, and I used to stand behind the glass and write the numbers.
You know your stuff. Tell me what the temperature is in La Jolla.
I do? Oh, I don't have my glasses. I can't see that far.
Well,
you know, it's
like somebody's age.
Oh, yes, that's right. It's my age. 69 degrees.
Ow! The former La Jolla High cheerleader became Miss La Jolla, and later the fairest of the fair, before being hired to do morning weather here at age 18. Tell me what the glorious salary was.
Oh, $7.50.
It's now $8.50, so you know that things have changed quite a bit. Today I visited Raquel's childhood home in La Jolla The current owner didn't want to be on camera, but was aware of the house's history. Do you know who used to live here?
Yes, I do.
Okay, tell us who.
Yes, Raquel Welch.
All right.
Yeah.
You didn't find any tiaras or anything in there when you moved in?
No tiaras.
Raquel is in town for a book signing.
The name of the book is Raquel Beyond the Cleavage. And I thought all they knew about was the kind of body beautiful kind of thing.
Raquel says she wrote the book to empower women of her generation.
I didn't feel like there were many people that talked very much about my generation of women and how we grew up. In today's world, women are not aging in the same way that my mother did.
And today in the studio, Raquel Welch looked like she hadn't aged much at all. I just want to tell my wife I love her still, but here's Victoria Johnson.
Just the weather.
Today, the actress, author, and spokesperson has no regrets about the early weather job and the beauty pageants.
It was great because it opened up some doors for me. It was an opportunity to be seen by a lot of people.
Seeing is believing. Raquel Welch is a natural beauty. Welcome home, Raquel. Welcome home. Larry Himmel, News 8.
Right here.
The waves, the surf.
What a career, and it's so great to look back at that footage. Our archive are truly amazing, and I love that she worked right here at Channel 8. So speaking of weather, it has been cold for us. San Diego felt strong winds on Tuesday, and wind chills reached 40 degrees or lower. Here's a look at our coastline as the waves rolled through and the wind picked up. Alpine even saw gusty conditions and overcast skies, 20-mile-per-hour winds with gusts up to 40 miles per hour ripped through East County. To be safe, California Highway Patrol recommends keeping distance from semis or trucks pulling trailers.
As you're going over overpasses and canyons and areas like that, the wind does seem to pick up more in those kind of areas. So just be more aware as you're driving over bridges or in canyon areas.
Yeah, it's best to take it slow out on the roads and be aware of the colder temperatures that have rolled in. And the much needed rain that has fallen across California has made everything grow, but it's also creating perfect conditions for breeding mosquitoes. Meteorologist Sean Stiles tells us that now is the time to do the work to prevent a mosquito population explosion in this Earth 8 report.
All this rain we've been seeing here in San Diego has been fantastic for my garden and I'm sure yours. But the flip side to that is all that rain has been collecting in little pots like this around my garden. And this is perfect breeding ground for mosquitoes.
These are mostly the larvae of what's known as a southern house mosquito.
San Diego has about 24 native mosquitoes, but it's a non-native that has Chris Conlon, the supervising vector ecologist at the County of San Diego, most concerned.
The one in particular is called Aedes aegypti, also known as the yellow fever mosquito. It's a very small mosquito.
These mosquitoes need very little water to multiply.
It's very good at developing in very small sources of standing water. I mean, it could be like plant saucers, you know, small little cups, even bottle caps full of water would be sufficient to breed a few mosquitoes.
And this year, there's plenty of water.
If we continue to get rain at regular intervals, it's going to create a lot more water out there. Sources that, you know, might normally be 2 or 3 acres in size might now be double that. And so that's all places we have to go treat and try to keep those mosquitoes from getting out of hand.
Temperatures are cold at night now, which slows the growth. So now is the time to remove standing water.
Probably one of the most notorious ones would be pots with these overflow saucers at the bottom.
Anything that holds water is a breeding area. Toys, tarps, frisbees, if it holds water, mosquitoes will find it.
Now, while saving water is great, and we do encourage that at the same time.
And if you collect rain or have small ponds, Conlon has a free solution.
We have a type of a fish called a mosquito fish. It looks like a small minnow. They're great for those kind of small, isolated backyard sources. They're good for little ponds. They're good for fountains.
Pet owners should also be concerned.
When it comes to this Aedes aegypti, this new invasive one, what that one has kind of done is it raises the level of concern a little bit for heartworm.
With warmer weather, it doesn't take long for mosquitoes to multiply.
Those eggs can go from egg to adult mosquito in about a week.
And Conlon says include your neighbors to be part of the solution.
So if everybody gets on board with eliminating that standing water, the whole neighborhood can knock down the biting pressure and make life a lot better for those backyard barbecues.
Getting rid of water around your garden is like the old saying, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So check the pots around your house as well as tell your neighbors to do the same. Sean Stiles, Earth 8.
Whew, let's all do our part. Sean, thanks. Well, now to a blast from the past in East County. The La Mesa Youth Advisory Commission unearthed a time capsule buried back in 1992. Inside, there were newspaper articles, pictures of students with messages predicting what life in 2020 would be like. City council members from then and now, including former and current La Mesa mayors, were in attendance, as were some of the students who helped pack up that capsule 31 years ago.
Awesome experience, excited to be here, super blessed to be able to share it with my daughter now who's 14.
And I think it was really awesome to see the cassette tape too, and just like differences in the way they lived for sure.
Cassette tapes, yes. So now a new generation of youth commissioners is working on a new time capsule with memories from the 2020s, including pandemic highlights. That capsule is set to be dug up in 2050. Well, this week also, of course, included Valentine's Day, so watch out, Cupid. Some furry friends showed us that they really know how to swoon healthcare workers. On Valentine's Day, therapy dogs from the Helen Woodward Animal Center snuggled up with ICU and emergency room workers to spread some love in what's usually a stressful environment. One ICU nurse told us that a short snuggle break with Biggie the Mastiff there was enough to help her feel recharged and ready to take on the rest of her shift. And hey, with the Super Bowl behind us, we can now concentrate on college basketball reaching the end of its season and Major League Baseball reaching the start of spring training. Our Jake Garriani is in Peoria, Arizona.
Thank you very much, John Howard. We have made the short 45-minute drive from Glendale here to Peoria after Super Bowl 57. And it's funny, the second Harrison Butker booted that ball through the uprights and the Chiefs were named world champions, the switch flipped, right? It was time for baseball season. And this is an incredibly highly anticipated season for our San Diego Padres. It's something we've talked about, and it will get talked about over and over and over until opening day comes. And it's rightfully so. You can't have Juan Soto, Fernando Tatis Jr., Manny Machado, and Xander Bogaerts in a lineup and not have high expectations. Now, today was the first official day of spring training with the World Baseball Classic pitchers and catchers reporting, and some other big names already in town, Joe Musgrove and Xander Bogaerts. It was also our first opportunity to catch up with manager Bob Melvin.
It doesn't really feel like this is the first day until I get before the media, and now it feels official.
Have you ever entered a season with this much anticipation?
I can say probably not. I mean, it's pretty cool to see, and you know what we saw in Fan Fest, and then just kind of the build-up, whether it's the players, whether it's what you're reading, certainly the feel in San Diego. It's really cool. I don't know that I've had more, so-called star players. We have a lot of star players here. We seem to bring another one in every few weeks or so.
Is there an excitement around it? Do you still get that buzz, that feeling?
No, it always, it's actually before. Super Bowl is always kind of a, after this game, now it's all about baseball. Everybody looks forward to spring training, and we haven't had full spring trainings here in past years, so yeah, very excited.
And John, as much as we all love the NFL, it feels good that it is finally time to talk baseball and Padres. The first full workout will be the 21st. The first spring training game will be the 24th. And then all eyes are on March 30th, opening day against the Colorado Rockies. I'm Jake Arriani from the Peoria Sports Complex. John Howard, go ahead, send it back to you.
Yeah, the vibe out there is just electric. We're rooting for you, Padres. Well, as I continue to take you around San Diego, I'll leave you with a look at Balboa Park. If you've been recently, then you've seen these evergreen pear trees that are blooming with their magnificent white flowers. They can look like snowflakes falling to the ground. CBS 8's Brian White talked with park goers about these beautiful trees.
I think they're beautiful. Oh, they're gorgeous because they're all in bloom and they make you feel like you're almost in springtime.
Oh,
these trees are definitely beautiful and not something you see every day. So you get these small flowers, white flowers that bloom out of the trees, and it's just incredible. And then when they fall down, it kind of looks like it's snowing a little bit. I guess that's just the beauty of San Diego. You know, you get a bit of every season in February.
They're really awesome. Like just watching them fall on the ground. Like I don't really see this too often, like around San Diego. But here in Balboa Park, this is great. It's almost like if it was like a snow flurry or something. You know, this is just beautiful. We love it here.
I think it's really pretty to see all the petals falling. I think it's so beautiful and peaceful, and it just brings a wonderful feeling for everyone.
Honestly, just think of nature at its best, just peaceful.
They're just gorgeous, perfect shape on that tree, and lots of white.
Oh, the white flowers are awesome. Some of them are full bloom, still pretty. They're beautiful.
Balboa Park is my favorite place in San Diego. We're from Iowa, and when we come here, we always make sure to go to Balboa Park, so I'm just really happy to be here.
We're from Tennessee, and it's cold and snowy there. This is beautiful. I cannot believe this is the United States.
Being able to just have a place where, you know, you could walk around like in Balboa Park that's this beautiful, it's just, you know, incredible. So you got to be grateful when you can.
Yeah, we are so lucky to live here. I've got to go and see it with my own eyes. As always, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for staying informed. Join me each week as I take you around San Diego. For CBS 8, I'm Jenny Day. Take good care.